Welcome to the Connectable podcast.
The Connectable podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
Today's guest is David Jamison, also known as the Dope Educator. What's going on, man?
Not much. Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure and honor. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, we're excited. We always start this show off by explaining how we're connected to the guest, because it's called Connectable, and our whole goal is to make, our audience more connected to the guests, our guests more connected to the audience, and and just everybody more connected to each other. And usually, we have some kind of personal connection to the guest, but I think we're connected to you the same way that a ton of people are connected to you, which is basically everybody saw your video where you were doing specific handshakes for specific students in your classroom. And I believe there was 75 of them, which is pretty crazy. So I'm sure people have seen that video. If you guys haven't seen that video, make sure you go check it out. You can pretty much find it anywhere online, but look up David Jamison Handshakes. And that's pretty much how we know you, man. And so, we want to hear all about how you got connected to teaching and stuff like that. But I think we have to start off with, like, how difficult is it to memorize 75 handshakes?
Oh man, you know what? Just thinking back at it, I'm still blown away by how I was able to memorize those handshakes.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend, what's fun is that me and my best friend, we had secret handshake growing up, right? And that handshake would definitely set us apart from anybody else. So when I became an educator, I wanted to build that sense of belonging with kids, so I said, hey, I basically told the kids on the first day of school, I said, we're going to create our own handshake, and whoever comes up with the best handshake, guess what? I have a prize for you. So just by saying that kind of motivated the kids to want to create the best handshake.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the kids got very creative with coming up with handshakes. Many of them, they wanted to change the handshakes up every single day. They wanted to add to it. But I made it to a point where I was like, hey, let's keep it simple. Let's do a 1, 2, 3 count, something that I can remember, something that, that would stick to me. Let's add the whoa at the end, because at the time the kids was teaching me this new dance. I think it had just came out, called the whoa. Yeah. And I really didn't know how to do it, right? So they showed it to me, and I incorporated that at the end of each handshake. So we tried to keep it as simple as possible, like a 1, 2, 3 count. But of course I had kids that would, want to add to it. So and it seems like the more I did it, the more it stuck with me. I can't really tell you how long it took me to get it out. I guess I remember about a week and a half into it, I think it started to get fluent.
Yeah.
So I'll say fluent. It took me about at least roughly about 2 weeks. The more I did it, I just began to put the phase with the handshake, and it just stuck with me. And having a great memory, that definitely helps, as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can't imagine, man. I can barely remember what I did this morning. So that's impressive, man. And so 2 weeks, that's a really quick turnaround too. I definitely couldn't even do it in 2 weeks. That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show just how much you care about your kids and how you want them to feel special, individual attention and all that stuff. I know that as an educator myself, and it's hard sometimes to make a connection with each and every kid you have, especially if you have that big number. So for you to put in that time and to make them feel like they are seen and heard, they're going to remember you forever. Forever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so important, it's so important, where I teach, kids come from adverse childhood experiences, so for them to have a teacher that's going to go beyond their script to reach their heart, that means everything in the world. And not only that, it makes them, excited to actually come to school every single day. I can't tell you guys how many times students would just be excited just to do their handshake every day. You know,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
just walking down the hallway, kids that I don't even teach. Mr. Jamison, can we, we should create a handshake.
Yeah.
So, so it's like, the kids, love that,
Yeah.
anything, man, to catch that fish,
Yeah. Well, that's got to be a really special thing for their families too, right? Because when they see a teacher care that much, I mean, that probably means a ton to the parents too. Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What was it like when that video started kind of blowing up?
Man, I was overwhelmed, I remember it, man, vividly. It was November not this past November, the November of, what's that, 2019, right?
2019, yeah.
November 2019. What's crazy is that I posted the video on Facebook, right? Because I really didn't use Instagram at all, right?
Oh, okay.
So I said, you know what? Look, let's post a video on Instagram this time. Since I'm always putting like my energy into Facebook, I said, let's give Instagram a try. So I posted the video on Instagram, and this one guy shared it, man. And it got like maybe 58,000 views, over 50,000 views. And then after he shared it, someone else shared it, then someone else shared it. So it was like the video was everywhere. And I started to get these followers, man, like sporadically, like my followers like went crazy within a day or two. So that's when the CEO of Stardom Magazine, right, posted my video to Twitter, and it got over 500,000 views. That's when he reached out to me, and he was like, man, I have something to tell you, man. A company reached out to me, a very, a big company, big station, and they're trying to reach you. And he told me it was Access Hollywood. So I was, very big. I was blown away. I was like, really? So that was the beginning of it. So after Access Hollywood came, Good Morning America, everything else kind of just happened after that. Good Morning America. Then I got a call from the Ellen Show. So it was just this bam, bam, bam. So everything happened so fast. So I was overwhelmed. I didn't get a chance to go on Ellen. She went on hiatus.
That's a bummer.
So I was looking forward to that, man. But I was just grateful to inspire your people, just on the importance of just building relationships with kids, because the goal was never to get the attention, the notoriety. Right. The goal was just to inspire your people, man, just to build relationships, because I was that kid that needed that growing up. So when I became an educator, I simply wanted to become the leader that I wish I had, the educator that I needed and the leader that I wish I had. So more than anything, I just wanted to spread more love to the world, man. So I think we did that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any, are there any educators in your family, or are you the first one, or is there anything else that inspired you to go down that route?
Yes, my mom was actually an educator.
Nice.
Okay. Same grade?
I think my mother, I think she taught third grade.
Okay, so a little younger, because you teach fifth, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Yeah, that is definitely a special age. I tried teaching elementary PE, and I lasted about 6 months until I switched to high school. I don't know how you do it. I don't know, like for me, at least, like my teaching style and just my attention span and the way I manage my classroom, teaching the littles, I call them the littles. It was like trying to get, 30 kittens to hold still. Yes. And it's PE, right? So they're so excited. And so to get them to move was no problem, and to get them to play games, but to get them to like pay attention was, for me at least, was challenging. So for me, the older kids, I can get them to pay attention a little better. So I, whatever, bow down to you to that you teach the littles. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could never see myself doing it, prior to, but you'll be surprised, by what you actually can do when you're put in that position. I've always said, I wanted to do a high school. I don't want to do, babies, but I think, God put me in this position because he felt like that I was, the right person for it. So, and as you can see, like doors have opened for me because I have been obedient, to his will and to serving our youth. So I don't know how to do it, man, but I just think that it's just the grace of God, honestly.
That's awesome. Well, and then awesome. I'm sure when you're so well known, like you've worked hard to develop that rapport with the kids and at your school. And that is a great thing because then when you get kids coming the next year, they already know you, they already know who you are. And it's not like a popularity contest, but it is that's Mr. Jamison. It's like a respect thing because you've established that within your school, and that's a big thing too.
Funny you said that because my first day of school in the virtual platform, I actually had a student that sent me an email, and it was very kind, so kind. She said that, Mr. Jamison, I'm so excited to be in your class. I've been wanting to be in your class since third grade, and I'm so happy about being in you.
Wow,
that is so sweet.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's like the best. Like that's why you become a teacher. Like when you receive those types of messages from kids, like it's just that's the best part. So yeah,
there's probably a ton of pressure on those other fifth grade teachers that you work with. It's like if the kid doesn't get Mr. Jamison going into school,
they're like, oh,
we got the other teacher. That's gotta be a ton of pressure. Man, I had a question. Let me ask you this, because we were joking about this off air, but man, when we follow you on Instagram and the way you dress, man, you're easily the best dressed guest that we've had on the show. And this is how you dress all the time. Is that just because you like fashion, or is there a reason, like you want the kids to see you dress that way for a certain reason? Like, is there more behind it than just, you enjoying fashion?
I would say it's both.
Okay.
I have a love for fashion. I've always had a love for it. My friends would tell you that, hey, I would dress up to go and take out trash. So I love suits. I'm a flamboyant. I'm very flamboyant when it comes to dressing. I just love style. I think that your dress code is your personal commercial. What are you advertising when you walk out the house every single day? So and I think that when I dress up, it just makes me feel better. It makes me feel good about myself when I put a suit on. So it's just like a confidence builder. So not only that, but I also want my students to see, that hey, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to express your individuality. It's okay to be different. Don't never dim your light for anyone else. If this is your style, if this is how you want to dress, you dress that way, and you wear it with confidence. So when they see me, they see a man that wears his suit and his tie, and not only that wears it, but I'm going to actually show you how to tie a tie, because I want you to, exactly. So I want them to one day to grow up and know how to dress when it's time for a job interview. Because I've noticed that many grown people don't know how to dress for a job interview. If we can be real about it, So even my girls know how to tie ties. I show my girls.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, my boys, my girls, so, my girls could grow up one day and be mothers and be single mothers, and they may have to tie their son tie, and they could say, yo, Mr. Jamison, my fifth grade teacher taught me how to tie a tie when I was in fifth grade. And that's how I know how to tie your tie. So I think, things like that, like life lessons, it's just, it just goes beyond like what we do every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the amazing thing about teachers, right? Is you're obviously teaching a subject or multiple subjects, depending on where you're at or what level. But at the end of the day, the goal really should be hey, we're trying to impact lives here. And if it can go beyond the subject and if it can impact their lives in multiple ways, that's the main goal, right? And that's what you're kind of aiming for as teachers. And that's why I think we have so much respect for teachers, because you guys are doing some incredible stuff. So, and that's awesome. It was fun. I watched the Thai video on your Instagram the other day. That was pretty cool. It reminds me we have a friend named Dwight Taylor Sr. He does something out here in Sacramento. It's a manhood conference. But I remember the first time I went to his conference, there was a breakout session where they were teaching kids how to tie ties, and it was pretty cool because, like you said, at first you see them like look at the tie like, what do I do with this thing? And then at the end of the session, like they're tying like pros, and like you said, it does develop this sense of confidence in them too. So like, okay, you know what, I can tie a tie now. That's pretty sweet. So yeah, man, that's cool. I love seeing you do stuff like that for sure.
Yes, man.
I love. No, go ahead.
We've been doing it since my first year teaching. So we actually have a mentoring program called Boys to Men. So we do, even now we have transitioned to virtual now. So every Tuesday we meet, and we meet every third Saturday. So we're just doing different things just to try to, create men and future men and boys. So
that's awesome. I'm once we get off here, I'm definitely gonna send you Dwight's information, because I think you guys need to meet for sure. Yeah, he's a good dude. We've had him on this podcast multiple times. So yeah, we'll send it to you for sure. Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
Cool. No, I was gonna say I love that you taught the girls how to tie the ties too. Yeah. That is genius. I don't know how to tie a tie. I wish someone showed me how to tie a tie. That is so cool. Well, for whatever reason, just for a girl to just know how to do that is a confidence booster too. Like you said, the single mom example, or what if they just, want
to wear a tie?
What if they want to wear their own tie, or if they want to tie it on their boyfriend, or whatever the reason. I think that is great. So I love that. That's genius.
Well, and it's cool too, because like with anything, right, you could go to YouTube and type in how to tie a tie, but it's not gonna have the same. Yeah, but it's not gonna have the same impact, right? Like if they could watch a video, or they could learn in class from Mr. Jamison, like the one in person is gonna have way more impact for sure.
Yes,
absolutely.
And that's so funny, because looking back at it, I learned from YouTube how to tie a tie. That's how I learned how to tie a tie. My dad didn't teach me. I didn't learn from a father figure. I learned from going on YouTube, typed in how to tie a tie. That's how I learned. So I wanted to make sure that, when I had the opportunity to teach a young boy, that I would. So I have the opportunity now, and I don't want that young boy or girl to have to do the same thing that I did. Not to say that my father was a bad person, but it's just something that I didn't learn from him, which I wish that I could have learned from him. So now that I know better, guess what? I can do better.
That's good. Exactly. That's good. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah. In fact, something you mentioned to us off air, and I would like you to repeat it if you don't mind. You were talking about the fish, right?
Right.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because I've seen you post about that before, but hearing from you is a lot better for sure.
Yes, definitely. I feel that oftentimes, we are trying to catch fish that we haven't cleaned. And I've said this several times, that you have to be able to catch the fish before you can clean the fish, right? So oftentimes, we're trying to teach kids. We're trying to, we want them to obey the rules. We want them to follow our norms and things of that nature. But we haven't created culture. And if you do not establish culture will establish itself, right? So in order to establish that culture, what do we have to do? We have to be able to catch the fish first and then clean the fish. How do we catch the fish? We catch the fish by building relationships. We catch the fish by showing kids that, hey, you're more than just a test score, right? We put so much emphasis on test scores, right? But when it's all said and done, kids are going to remember how you made them feel, right? Not always by what we said, how many standards we can remember. None of that is not important to a child. We have so many kids that come from so many different backgrounds, and oftentimes they just want to be loved. Okay. So if we have the opportunity as educators, as administrators, as PE teachers, anybody that has the opportunity to make a difference in a child's life, we should take that opportunity to heart, realizing that we have to catch that fish so that we can maximize the fullest potential of every child that we come in contact with.
Yeah.
We could end the podcast right there. Nope.
I know. I was like, that was like perfect.
Pretty good. We're not going to though.
Right
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So you had said, your mom was a teacher and just you wanted to be the leader, that you didn't have in terms of a teacher. So that's why you wanted to become an educator. Did you know that at a young age, or was there a certain point in your life, in your educational career? Like, how did you start that? Was there something else you wanted to be? And then it kind of switched to, nope, I need to do this. I need to be a teacher.
Teaching was,
how was that journey?
I think that teaching was more of a calling for me. Teaching was something more of leading me towards my purpose in life. Aligning me to my purpose in life. I was literally staying in Atlanta, right? I was doing acting, my background, I was doing acting, commercial print modeling. So I was doing that, right?
Okay.
So I moved back to Memphis. I had a bad accident in Atlanta that actually put me back in Memphis, right? So when I got back, I was working part-time at Another Broken Egg, one of my favorite brunch restaurants. I was actually serving tables. The typical job for an actor, of course, is a serving job, just to make extra money. So when I came back home, I didn't necessarily know how long I would be home. So I wanted to make extra money. So to make a long story short and a short story long, while I was working at Another Broken Egg, I bumped into my principal, which is still my principal now, right? So he came up to me and he was like, do you have a passion for teaching? Do you have a passion for kids? Because we need more Black men in education. Mm-hmm. My initial response was yes. I can reflect back to 2012. When I graduated college, I was working as the labor coordinator for a striking company. So any type of strike that happens, I coordinated the strike. Nursing strikes, I managed 500 nurses, wage management strikes. And what's crazy is that we had a teacher strike going on, right? And we needed to bring in teachers to actually work that strike. So the senior coordinator asked me, he was like, hey, don't you have a degree in English? Do you think you can go in and teach that class? You think that you can do this for a month? I said, I could try. So I went into the building, fell in love with the kids. I built relationships that was out the world. And I saw that experience there as kind of giving me a preview of my future. I still went back to doing my typical job, but if I press fast forward, that was like the preview of where I would be now, right? So fast forward, I'm at Another Broken Egg. I accepted an offer to go directly into teaching. In less than a week after I said yes, guess what? I was in the classroom teaching. And that was the beginning. That quick.
Wow.
Matter of fact, it took exactly about 2 weeks. Stayed at that school for a year. My principal got a promotion, and we've been at the same school since. So I'm finishing up my 4th year teaching now.
Wow.
And I've built crazy relationships since my very first year teaching.
Wow.
Wow, that happens quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really quick. That's crazy.
Yes.
You're like thrown in that. So what has, I guess this is the question for later, but it's just on my mind now. What's been the most challenging part of teaching for you? I guess both in the classroom and on Zoom now, because we're virtual now, and you're fully online now. So in terms of what's been, I guess my 2 questions, what's been the most challenging in classroom, virtual, and what's been the most rewarding in classroom or virtual?
I think the most challenging, of course, has been virtual at the beginning.
Right.
In the beginning, I was more focused on what it looked like, right, instead of what it could be.
Right.
So I was only focused on, I can't, build the relationships that I once had. Some kids who refuse to cut their cameras on. I'm like, I don't know about this, So,
Yeah.
but I stuck with it, weathered the storm, and I started to incorporate those same strategies that I would if I was in class brick and mortar. I still do my words of affirmation daily. I'm still building culture and climate. I'm still doing freestyle Fridays with the kids. So I'm embedding the things that I would typically do, that I would brick and mortar. So one thing that I've started doing, so I'm telling you what was challenging, but I'm also explaining to you how I overcame those challenges. I think oftentimes we tell how things were so challenging, but we never tell people how we helped to overcome, because there may be someone listening that may be going through the same exact thing, and then they're trying to they need hope to get through that speed bump, right? So I overcame that by incentivizing kids for following our classroom norms, right? So I started a student of the month. Every month, I actually would drive up to that person's house, the student's house, and reward each student. Last week, I gave a student a hoverboard. I delivered shoes. So just basically anything that they put on their list that they want, I would choose exactly what item, and I would actually deliver it to that specific child. So that kind of made me feel more like I was in the building, again, just able to see that child's face again. So, which was once challenging, but I overcame that challenging by focusing on what it can be instead of what it looks like. Okay. Yeah. So that was what was one of the most challenging, and rewarding too, I guess. Of course, rewarding was definitely in the building. Brick and mortar was definitely more rewarding because I was able to actually have that human interaction daily with kids. Because I really don't, care what we say. Nothing will ever replace the human interaction with kids. Nothing will ever replace that. We can pull the cameras up and we can try to have fun, engaging activities, but it still is like, it's nothing like being in that child's presence. It's nothing like giving that kid a high five or a handshake or a hug. That's just something that we just can't replace, and I think that research shows, that kids that feel love and appreciated and they have their love and human interaction, they do well. They exceed more in life and in their studies. So now we take that away from a kid. It's challenging, not only for kids, but also for adults, right? Because we know that if we were in the building, this kid would do so much better. I look at kids every day that I know this kid is a straight A student, but I know that this virtual platform has definitely affected this child in a major way. So I'm sorry that was probably verbose, but I hope I answered your question, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Challenging parts for sure. Yeah. Well, I know what you mean about the face-to-face interaction with the kids. It was funny. I was just talking with one of my coworkers today, who she happens to be my roommate too. We both teach at the same school. We teach the same subject. And we both agree that like we're in the flow of virtual teaching, right? Since August, we're like, hey, we got it down. We're in the flow. And I'm like, I still feel so bad for these kids, but selfishly for me too, like I miss interacting with them. There's something to be said about just having them all in front of you. You can like joke around with them and, you can clown on them. You can like just like everyone can kind of talk at the same time. You can't do that on Zoom. Right. And it's just, there's like a lost like communication this way. There's like a gap, and it's just not the same at all. You you can dress it up as much as you want and try to get, of course I'll still get kids giggling and laughing this way, but it's just so different. So
right.
Definitely we take a loss too. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, it's like if we pay attention to social media, everyone is doing Zooms, everyone is doing, lives, Instagram lives.
Right.
I've never seen this many conversations ever in life. Every time you log on, someone is having a live conversation. So I think that this is also teaching us and children to like be adaptable, right? So that's why I say like it's so important to like focus on what it can be now instead of what it looks like. If this is going to be the new normal, let's adapt to it. Let's just make the best of it as we can, because I was that person that fell into a deep depression when the pandemic hit. I fell into a deep depression, right? Because I was focused on what it looked like instead of what it could be. But the moment I renewed my mind, the moment I changed my way of thinking, the moment I began to see things turn around for me. So I think that many of us, we are stagnant, and many of us, we don't grow through what we go through because we are stuck in that toxic mindset, that toxic mentality, and we can never maximize our fullest potential until we're able to see things in a more positive way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great. Well, and it's good that you can attest to feeling that way so you can relate to your kids, because I'm sure they're feeling that way, and you can share like, hey, like I understand what I was feeling sad or whatever, depressed, whatever word you want to use with them, and but this is how we can overcome it. So just to relate to them on that level, because they need to know that we're not robots either, like we're their leaders and we're strong, but like we feel things that they feel as well, and to like go over how you overcame that can help them as well.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say the same thing. I think it's in a weird way, it is an opportunity to really show that leadership that you have and be an example to them. And if I'm sure there's been some people out there that when all of this hit, teachers were just scrambling and really frustrated. And I'm sure they let some of those negative feelings come out, and their students probably felt that. And then if the students are feeling that and they're kind of dealing with that same craziness, then it's going to be tough for them. It adds more pressure, adds more frustration to the students. But if they see a teacher on the other side of the screen that has, like Deb said, you still feel the emotions and all that, but they are still that strong leader. That's another learning opportunity for your students, or a teaching opportunity for your students too.
Yes.
So, even if they're frustrated with all of the Zoom classes and the, not being in person, they're still hearing this from Mr. Jamison that, hey, perseverance, determination, these are still things you're teaching, which is pretty cool. So definitely not the ideal situation, but still teaching lessons. It's like you can't help yourself, man. It's like everything you do, you're just teaching lessons. I feel like I'm learning lessons. You're not even my teacher, man. I've been out of 5th grade for a long time, and I still feel like I'm walking away today with some lessons.
Man, you're
awesome.
so kind.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to go back to something you said, because there was a quote from people, and I'm not going to read the whole quote because you kind of covered some of it already, but something you alluded to earlier was that more Black men should be teachers, or I think the principle that got you into teaching mentioned like we need more Black men to be teachers. And obviously this is Black History Month as well. So, and I think if I remember correctly from your Instagram, are you coordinating a Black History Month like a program or some kind of event coming up? So
okay.
That?
So you're probably referring to the shirt that I posted for trendy teachers. Basically, they dropped a t-shirt line that's kind of promoting Black History Month. So it's basically a new merch line in honor of Black History Month. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. So you're right. That is what I was referring to. So and obviously I was looking at your bio too. You went to a HBCU. So it's obviously something that's really important to you. So just give us your thoughts about, like where we're at right now and just the culture and everything that's happening. And then also why it's so important for more Black men to become teachers.
Man,
Kind of a big question.
Yes. I think it's I'll start by saying that, I think it's so important for Black and brown kids to see a representation of a Black man in education. Why I say that? Because we represent the 2% when it comes to education. Why is that? I feel that oftentimes Black and brown boys, right, we don't see a representation of that in education, because we're told that in order to be successful in life as a Black or brown boy, right, you have to be an athlete, you have to be a rapper, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, when in fact education is that one profession that creates all the other professions. So if you are an educator, right, you have the most important job in the world, because you are creating that next leader, you are creating that next doctor, you are creating that next rapper, entertainer. Your favorite entertainer, was probably inspired by some educator or learned from an educator, because we can learn some good things and some not so good things from educators, right? So I just think, man, that it's so important for them to be able to see me in them, right? Because it's like it just lets them know that, hey, you know what? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I don't have to limit myself because of the color of my skin. I don't have to put myself inside of a box just because society put these different social constructs on me. So I think, man, it's just so important for us to stand up for what we believe in. And I think that the world is in the place that it's in now, man, because I think that it has been a Band-Aid on it for many years, right? A Band-Aid has been put on it for many years, and now we see that many people are coming out now that has been hiding, right? But we're seeing their true colors now, so I feel that even now at this moment, we need our white allies, right, also to speak up on our behalf, even at this very moment, because we're going through a tough transition, and I think that it's very important for us to come together, not only as a race but as a human race, just standing up for what is right, speaking out against what is wrong, and saying what's right, regardless of I guess the way we are going to be perceived from people. You may have to lose friends, you may have to lose family members, right? But at the end of the day, you have to stand up for what's right. And we have to be sure that we're doing this because we're sending a message to our next generation that in order for this world to change, we have to be that change that we want to see at this very moment. If not, guess what? It's still going to be a continuous cycle. So I hope I answered your question, man. But yes, I went to an HBCU. I nothing against any other school, but I went to an HBCU because I wanted to be at a place where I felt that I would feel appreciated without just being a number, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted that one-on-one relationship. I know that oftentimes, you go to these big universities, you get lost in the numbers. I knew if I went to an HBCU, I would be at a place where I thought that I would feel empowered, right?
Yeah.
And I really feel, man, that it was the best decision that I could have ever made because Tougaloo College helped to shape me into the very person that I am today. Not only did it prepare me for life, but it also, I guess, embodied those morals and values when it comes to education. It's just when it comes to being a man of integrity. It taught me a lot about integrity and a lot about style. We will wear suits almost every day in college. So even then, that was preparing me for the future now, man. So yeah.
That's awesome.
No, that was
really,
great.
yeah. That was a really good. That was like you had me all drawn in on that one, so that was good.
Thank you.
That was a good.
Sorry, Deb, to cut you off, but and I imagine that when you're teaching your students too, like one of the things that I've heard people talk about is it's great that you have February is Black History Month, but that's something that you can be teaching all 12 months of the year. And so what are some ways you try to incorporate that into your teaching? Because I imagine that, again, going to a HBCU, like you said, that's really important to you. So how do you just kind of incorporate that? And what are some ways that teachers can incorporate Black history throughout their entire curriculum?
Something that I do is very simple. Every day in class, you can pretty much start your day after your affirmations of whatever type of routine that you have daily. Just introduce an interesting fact of Black history. Whether you're going to introduce Michelle Obama, just a brief description of who she is, what she stands for, what role did she play in making the world a better place. The next day, you may want to present Frederick Douglass. The next day, you may want to present Amanda Norman, right? So just simply presenting these different influential Black people, so kids will, be more knowledgeable, about their people, and not only their people, but the Black race in general. Because I think that, of course, our white allies, you have a huge responsibility to teach even little white children about Black history, even if you don't have a class full of Black kids. I think it's very important for everyone to know about Black history, because I think that Black history, it intercedes in any period in American history. So how can we teach American history with leaving Black history out? I think it's impossible. I think it really doesn't make any sense to me, So I think that it takes all of us to just step up to the plate, and it can also help us to have a better understanding of where we are now. If you learn the history, when you don't be myopic in your thinking, when you try to limit history to just American history, you're being myopic in your thinking. But once you incorporate all of history without leaving Black history out, you will have more love in your heart, or you should have more love in your heart for the Black race, because the Black race has endured a lot to be in the position that we are in today. And I think that it would do us an injustice to leave that out, and to also leave Black history to limit it to only 1 month. It would do us an injustice.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah. Is
sorry,
there
a question?
Well, I just want to skip to one of the, well, I guess.
The Zoom. We're all thrown off because Zoom.
I know, right? It's probably
how it is.
My Zoom kicked me off of my class today. That was fabulous.
Oh no!
And then I was
David,
I'm frozen.
Have you lost connection during one of your classes?
Yes, I have. I can count how many times. It was probably about three times this school year, but we came right back in. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah, good. I guess, what piece of advice would you give to one of your students? I know they're young, 5th grade, but I mean anyone, I guess, an older kid, it'd be a former student who came up to you and said, like, I want to do what you do. Like, how do I be a teacher? Like, what piece of advice would you give them, or what would you tell them to, like, how to go about doing that, and like what kind of mindset they should keep and be in while going about that route?
Okay. I would tell that child to never water yourself down for people. I would tell that child to embrace all your imperfections. to learn to discover your purpose in life. I would tell that child to treat everyone like you want to be treated. I would tell that child that when you find something that you really, really love, something that that gives you that fire to get up every morning, something that you would do every day without expecting a paycheck, something that any money couldn't buy, you found your purpose. Because your purpose is when you found something that you do the very, very best with the least amount of effort. I heard Steve Harvey say this, your purpose is something that you can do the very, very, very best with the least amount of effort. When you find that, you found your purpose. So I would definitely just tell that kid to tap into your purpose. And the moment you tap into your purpose, you will find a reason for living. I think that many kids commit suicide because they feel they have no purpose in life. And I also think that many people, they try to compare their lives to other people's lives, right? Yeah. And doing that pretty much abandon what your purpose is in life. Your purpose could be simple as doing a live right now, making me feel special. That could be your purpose in that moment. I was talking to my barber, and he felt like that he didn't have a purpose. I told him, man, you just gave me confidence. That's purpose. So I think oftentimes we think that purpose is all about the amount of money you make, the amount of followers you have, right? The amount of clicks that you get on your pictures, but that's not purpose. So I would tell that kid that purpose is not just what society, the labels that society plays with. Purpose is when you feel like that you are doing everything that you can to be of service to the world, making the world a better place, leaving your mark on the world. That's purpose.
That was great.
That's awesome. Beautiful. Hey man,
drop the mic again. You don't need us.
I know. I don't even know why. You should just take over this podcast for us, man. I'll tell you what. If a kid doesn't hear that or hears that and doesn't get inspired, I don't know what's going to inspire him. That was pretty good, man.
Thank you so much.
Well, hey man, we want to, like we said before, man, we definitely appreciate your time. We want to make sure we're respectful of your time. We could do this forever, I think, but we don't want to do that to you. So, before we get out of here, something we like to do at the end of this podcast is we like to get what we call a connection suggestion from our guests. Is there a brand, an organization, a person out there that you feel like we should be connected with, that we can follow on social media or, any of that type of stuff?
Yes, definitely. Princeton James
Okay.
Productions. That's my best friend since the third grade. And he's doing amazing work, not only with kids, but also just in the entertainment industry in general. Princeton James Production, he's great. Also, if you're looking for a great educator, call me Shibby. That's CALLME Shibby, SHIBY at Call Me Shibby. Man, he's being the voice right now for educators out across the nation, and I consider him to be a brother of mine, man. So we are connected well, and I think you would definitely love to connect with Shibby for sure.
Perfect. Love it, man. Where can the people follow you on social media, websites, all that stuff?
Man, they can follow me on all social media platforms at the Dope Educator, at the Dope Educator, THEDOPE Educator. So that's me on all platforms.
Perfect. Perfect. And you guys can follow us at Connectable Podcast on Instagram, Connectable Pod on Twitter, Connectable Podcast on Facebook, Connectable Podcast on YouTube as well. And check it out. We would definitely appreciate it. But most importantly, make sure you follow Mr. Jamison on all those platforms, because you'll definitely be inspired, especially if you're an educator, a parent, of young students. Like, he's a guy that you definitely want to follow. So Mr. Jamison, man, we appreciate the time, man. And we stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you guys
you
are
so
too
much.
kind. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
Absolutely,
We
man.
did
Take care.
too. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.